virtual photo walks.
Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're at. My name is Dominic Phillips, and I'm here again with Virtual Photo Walks. Today we're going to take a little stroll around Legion Loop Trail in Legion Park in Boulder, Colorado. So thanks for joining us. I know a couple of you guys are here from different spots around the nation. If throughout the walk here you guys have any questions or want me to point the camera towards anything, just let me know. I have most of you guys in my ear here. I know some of you guys are chatting on, watching on YouTube. So just let us know, and we'll try to show you the sights here today, and we'll enjoy this beautiful day in Boulder, Colorado.
Thanks a lot, Dominic.
Thank you. All right. So yeah, we are up in the mountains here, and I'll get closer to the edge here, and you can see the larger mountains in the background here. So those strips of white way at the edge here, we have Long's Peak, which is one of our 14ers, and it's one of our mountains that gets above 14,000 feet. And you can see while there's snow up there, it's actually a very nice day down here today.
What's that old plant, Dominic?
That plant right there, that is actually the electric plant. And that's operated by Xcel Energy now, but the very first smokestack, and it's not there anymore, but the very first smokestack here went up in the year 1918. So we will get down a little bit closer on the loop trail that we're doing today, and it's about a mile long. We'll loop down toward that lower area and hopefully get a little bit closer to some prairie dogs. I know we tried to find some a couple of weeks ago and a couple of walks ago, but unfortunately it was an area that was hit a little bit by the flood.
You did pretty well.
Yeah, I think we had a good time. This is named Goodview Hill, and I'm going to walk right out into the center of the parking lot here, and you'll be able to see, hopefully, why it's called Goodview Hill. It was used by a number of Indian tribes, as well as early Anglo settlers, as a lookout. Now we see 3 different reservoirs behind us, and again we'll be getting a little bit closer to those guys there. The electric plant, and then we can see the city of Boulder just behind this wall. Up in the left we have the Flatirons, which are a big staple here in Boulder. You'll see a lot of photos. And just beneath those, you can see, and we'll be getting a little bit closer to these two during our walk. Way at the base, this is the University of Colorado, Boulder. Further down the mountain chain, south to Golden, Colorado, but we've made our full 360-degree loop, so we can see why this spot was so important as a lookout. Early settling years in Boulder, Colorado. So here we have a little bit of an industrial area on the edge of town. But this road, and you might see a couple cars passing right here, is Arapaho Road. So before we had the highways out here in US 36, Arapaho Road was the main road into Boulder. So if you follow that road up and down, there's a lot of very old stone structures. Some areas that were gateways to Boulder. Now this stone structure, the whole upper hilltop area that we're at here, this was built in 1930, 1930, and it was built as a World War I memorial. Sorry about that, everyone, but yeah, if you've been on the walks with us before, you know that occasionally we will get some signal bumpage here, and that is just because we are on the edge of the foothills here.
Dominic, how far are you from the Grand Canyon? You have a question.
Oh, from the Grand Canyon, you know, we are pretty darn far away. You know, I think we are somewhere around, oh gosh, you know, I think it's at least an 8-hour drive.
Well, you better leave now to get there.
Exactly. Some people want to go see the Grand Canyon. You know, the Grand Canyon is it's one place I've never been. Well, now here, so one thing about, you know, we don't have the Grand Canyon, but we do have the Front Range here. And all of these different peaks that we see, all of the Flatirons here, if we look over here, Flatirons that are right here. So we can actually come to areas like this and it'll show us Flagstaff Mountain, the Flatirons, all the way up and back into, you know, St. Vrain. Some of the larger ones that we see are up at 12,000 feet in elevation. So, and lots of the trail areas that we see have little information spots like this along the way. But let's go ahead and continue on down the trail here. Now again, this trail is about just shy of 1 mile. So we're going to kind of take our time and keep an eye on things. I am going to hop the wall. Now, if some of you have been at some of our other foothills walks, you're going to start to notice a little bit of a change here already. And that is that we have a lot of little wildflowers that are just starting to come up. So we have a lot of just little yellow and little purple bits. Now out in the mountains of Colorado, if you are from the East Coast, I know some of you guys are joining us from up in Buffalo and different areas there, we don't have quite as big of a spring out here that some people do. So just now we're starting to get a lot of flowers that are just starting to bloom, and but we have yet to see a whole bunch of baby animals or anything yet for this year. So we're getting there. A lot of these husks that you'll see too, we'll stop and get a good view of these guys. Where we're at, we're in kind of a very natural prairie ecosystem up here. So this landscape here is going to be the natural landscape of Colorado. All of the you know, the Indians that were here, you know, so long before us, and all of the settlers learned, you know, to work with the land. And one of the big plants out here, and a plant that has a lot of uses, is a yucca plant. And that's what we're looking at right here.
You have a way of coming up with these names of yucca plant and ha-ha and things.
I know. You would think, you know, it kind of gets back to some, I guess that's entomology there, the root of words and how they happen. But I could see also this one, you stepping on it, and yeah, it's not fun. But you know, unlike its name, you know, it says yucca, but the yucca is actually, for a number of different cultures, has a lot of different edible parts to it. Now, I'm not going to tell you to go out and eat a yucca. In fact, yuccas, I believe, are protected, so you're not even supposed to really like pull them up. You can find seasonally, and we might find some that have dried out here, but lots of uses for the roots. Some yuccas, actually, the root fibers foam up and can be used as soap or shampoo. Some people eat different parts of the berries or fruit. You know, right now we have seed husks, so it's just still dormant from last year. But as we get into flowering season, another large main husk will come up, and it will flower and then seed out. These leaves also were used, the settlers used those in smokehouses. So when you'd go out and you'd get your big piece of game, whatever it is, these leaves, they would chop them off at the base, and because they're so sharp, they could poke them right through a slab of meat or fish, tie it, and they would use that and hang their meat or whatnot up in a smokehouse using the yucca.
I see your friend that had all the questions about Hawaii is front and center here, Dominic.
Uh-oh, all right. Well, I'll do my best. I'll do my best. Like, you know, and again, throughout the walk, any questions you guys have, I'll try to do my best to answer. You know, or I know we have a lot of people out there on the interwebs as well. But yeah, if you have a question, just send it my way. And I'm going to lean this down just a little bit, and we're going to get a closer look at another one of our prairie plants that we'll see a lot of here. And this is why we want to stay on trail as much as possible, because off of the trail, let me move this down a little closer, are prickly pears.
All those are sources of drinking water, too, in an emergency, right?
You know, I'm not sure. You know, I know a lot of cactuses. That's what they say. And, you know, these are cactus, and they are succulents, and they hold moisture in there. But I don't know if you could get water from them.
I think so.
However, there are some places, and there's a place in town that serves, and it's a Mexican place, and you get a big bowl of a whole bunch of goodies all cooked together, and they actually have prickly pears in their meal. So they've taken all the spikes out of it, and they've cooked that whole leaf up, and it's pretty good, I have to say.
There's an app out there called the SAS Survival Guide, and
yeah,
it costs a little bit, but it gives you more information on survival in different situations, and just amazing.
I'm
I highly
sure.
recommend it if you're going to travel in the bush a lot. What do you got there? Is that?
All right, it's not much, but since we're showing all the little prickly and bitey parts of the landscape here, we're gonna look at get a couple of shots of some of our insect friends up here, and we'll see a number of these guys as well. Anthills. In fact, I've already avoided one or two just on the short bit of the walk that we've been on here. So, you know, as the early settlers and, you know, and Indians in this area, you know, you can see dealt with kind of a harsh landscape, but even all of the harsh stuff out here all has its use. So I know we always have some temperature questions, and last week, I think John maybe sent the message to everyone that I had about 8 inches to 12 inches of snow up at my house and was not able to make it down. And but today, you know, here we have a week later, and again, more ants next to the prickly pears. But today, we're going to get up to a high of about 77 degrees.
Well, that's outrageous in 1 week.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I have some relatives coming in town, and by the weekend it will drop back down to 40. But this is springtime in Colorado.
Can you find any flowers popping up?
Well, you know, here relatively soon. Like I was pointing at those just little bitty flowers we had that were just starting. You can start to see the landscape is starting to green up here in Colorado, and all of it kind of just explodes at once. So we have a tulip fairy and elf parade, and that's in Boulder, and that's downtown, and it's great. You got a whole bunch of kids get to dress up as fairies and elves and walk through Pearl Street Mall, and they plant thousands and thousands of tulips down there. So hopefully we can coordinate a walk for down on the mall there afterwards. But we do have some great alpine areas here. Let me see, just little copse of trees up here.
Oh. Any pine cones there?
Oh yeah, pine cones everywhere.
Are they long or short?
Well, let's see. Oh, but you know, I think these guys
Hi, Jim.
Are a short kind, because I think I know what you're talking about between the long and the short ones.
Cool. I'll tell you, kids, if you're ever out in the bush and you have to start a fire, those will save your life. A few of those.
Oh yeah.
It's like a blowtorch. Let's say.
Oh, you know, also, and that reminds me, one thing about yucca is that the dried woody portions, so we see, you know, it's mostly spiky leaves, but they do have, you know, some dried woody portions that come up. It has one of the lowest combustible temperatures of wood, so it is very easy to start a fire with. Also, you know, which can be good and bad. You know, we have, unfortunately out here, some, you know, a lot of issues with forest fires out in the west. As you can see, kind of the grassland that we have out here, you know, very dry and can kind of go up quickly.
I once, as a kid, fell through the ice when I was out in my wanderings around, and I had my usual matches and things, but I remember getting up on the shore and collecting all the things that would burn, and as my clothes were starting to freeze to me, I was thinking, you've got about 20 minutes to make this work, John, or you're going to be in big trouble.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad you managed to get it done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good to see you, June.
So again, another little view, and we're going to be crossing down into this area. So as we're going along, you know, I'm trying to take some photos of the views here. And I know some of you guys are using the screen capture on there, and I love to see all those guys. Also, I'll, once we're done here, run to a coffee shop real quick and throw up the photos from my camera here, so you can see those as well.
Was that what powers that electric plant now?
I believe that is a coal-powered electric plant.
Okay.
And again,
the rail lines coming in there, so. Oh
yeah, yep. Been stopped a number of times by that train there. You know, this thing, it's run by Excel. However, it was started, for those of you that have joined us here, the very first stack to go up in this location went up in 1918. So this has been the location for the power plant that serves Boulder for quite some time now.
Well,
and these reservoirs...
the technology for the scrubbers in the stacks so that they aren't spewing out those all that black smoke have improved a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now you can see a good amount of steam that rises up from these columns. you know, especially on a cooler day. But it is amazing. And another benefit that this place actually has is we have there's a little trail to nowhere on our left-hand side. It goes right there.
The reason you have such great sunsets is usually because of pollution in the air. And to have some plants, smelters like that, about 100 miles away to the west, so they used to spew all this garbage into the air, and we'd get the outstanding sunsets, and now they've cleaned themselves up.
Yeah.
You don't get the bright red sunsets.
It's a trade-off I'll take.
Yeah, maybe my lungs are a little better now, who knows?
Yeah. So we are just now, again, coming up on Arapaho Road, and this is kind of the old entrance view to Boulder, Colorado. So if you were coming down this road, I think pre-1950, this is the view. You would all of a sudden drop down into Boulder Valley and be met with this view of the Flatirons.
Oh, wow.
Quite the intro, isn't it?
It's a shame that highway's there.
Yeah, this is, you know, and this is even just the secondary road. We have a much larger highway that links Denver to Boulder, and it's a big 4-lane thing, and it's down to our left by another couple miles. But the one good thing in Boulder that people had a little bit of foresight with is there is something called a green belt around Boulder. So the city and I think state and county at certain levels have all bought up property. So there's a little ring around Boulder that will never be developed on.
Oh, that's wonderful. They have green belts like that over in England too.
Oh yes, yeah, excellent. It is nice, you know, if we all intend on being here for a long time, we got to set some space away now. So another benefit of this plant here is that during the winter time, all of the water, so they use some of the water from the center reservoir here, which is Valmont Reservoir, I believe. Yes, Valmont Reservoir. There's Leggett Reservoir, Valmont Reservoir, and Hilltop Reservoir. And the power plant uses water to cool off some of its parts. So just like a radiator in a car keeps that engine cool, the power plants and all of the big machines that are in there making electricity needs water to keep them cool. So the water that they flush out, they bring in the water and run it next to the machine. And then when the water exits, it exits back into the reservoir. So the water is still clean. They didn't really use it for anything except for cooling some stuff down. But that means that during winter, these reservoirs are kind of a little sauna for waterfowl and birds.
That's wonderful.
So we've had, I think, an Arctic swan one year that overwintered here. That was quite a big deal. We have a number of osprey. An osprey is a bird of prey, and they sometimes dive for fish. So they stay here and will nest in some of the towers down here, and a lot of these trees. And I'm trying to see. It looks like, well, that might just be a huge magpie up there. I'm not sure what that is, but but there's a number of larger nests in these trees here. And in fact, as we walk along, we're going to open up into some fields, and we will see some prairie dog habitats. And with luck, we might see a hawk or two. But that guy, and I'll stop. Oh, once we get a little those are there. But in because of all of the birds, this place here in 2006, the National Audubon Society designated Valmont Reservoir as an important bird area. So this is an internationally recognized conservation site down here. Unfortunately, as close as we'll be able to get is going to be a little bridge down here by the farmer's ditch. But if you're going to be in the area, or if you ever want to go birding, this is one of two great spots to go birding at.
Dominic, do you have a spotting scope by any chance, or something like that? We could almost try putting the scope on a tripod and then hold the phone lens up to it. We could go birding with you.
You know, I've thought about how we can do some birding trips, and you know, I do have a big lens that maybe between some live view and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would work.
We might be able to figure something out.
Well, those blue
I would really enjoy it.
Great.
We'll just sit here for a second. We've covered a little bit of space, and
the blue heron shots you got yesterday were great.
Oh, thank you. You know, that is the spot, and you know, yesterday I was going to check the signal there as well. It's a little iffy, but I think it's good enough to do a walk from. So we will check that again here. It is only a couple miles away from here, and yeah, it was a beautiful spot. You know, I showed up first thing in the morning and saw a bald eagle, and he was sitting up on a big power line or power tower. And then saw the blue heron, saw a couple of ospreys, saw some hawks. It was definitely a good day. Now, when I first,
what's that?
Oh yeah.
The sky is beautiful.
We have some. I think these are partially lenticular clouds. I think that's the one. You know, when they look like spaceships like this. You know, we do.
It is unusual.
We're quite lucky. I mean, I know our motto isn't the big sky state. I think is that Montana maybe, but you know, the skies out here. You know, it's just expansive. You know, I've lived in the south a lot, and you know, where you have rolling hills, but you know, you don't get to see miles and miles to the horizon. And you know, out here, it's definitely a big blue. This is a big cottonwood tree right here.
That's an old tree, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, a lot of the cottonwoods. No, I'll slow down and get on this guy here. This guy, you know, he may be a natural run, but maybe not. One thing about this area, you know, I kept saying it was used as an outlook and you know, a World War I memorial, but after, you know, in the early 1900s, so I think 1905, maybe up into 1920s, this hill had an ice house on top of it. So there was a gentleman that owned it, and you know, his business was sending ice to a lot of the surrounding houses as well as businesses, and people would come up here and go sledding down the hill. So this may have been planted, but there are a whole bunch of cottonwoods that are in town and out in Longmont that were all planted about 120 years ago, which makes for these really great big old cottonwood trees. Unfortunately, that is also about the natural lifespan of these cottonwood trees. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to huff down the hill here real quick, and we'll show you that this guy, this great big majestic one here, and once we get used to it, we've already seen that the whole bottom right-hand trunk of this cottonwood tree has cracked off and has fallen down.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, and this is kind of the natural life cycle of these things. You know, they get huge and they're beautiful and majestic. As you can see, even going up, you know, once they get big, they start to kind of outgrow themselves and go back down. But by then, as you can see down here, we have so many little baby cottonwood trees getting ready to take its place that, you know, in a couple hundred years, we'll be looking at those as the ones that are collapsing down. Pop back up to the. Now, cottonwoods, when they spread their seed, I don't know if you guys have ever, you know, been in cotton fields or have cotton fields where you're at, but they just send clouds and clouds of downy fluff out.
I can't go outside.
I mean, it is. I have the same issues, allergies. So while it's beautiful, yeah. I could do without it.
It's like summer snow.
Yes.
But it causes some big problems. They clog up our air conditioning unit outside.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we have to hose it down every day.
Filled with those, yep. So now we can see where we're at now, way up in that upper left-hand side. That is where we started. So we can just see the edge of those walls. Again, those walls built by, I think it was a civilian defense unit, maybe, you know, American Legion type, and I think those were the people that built those walls. And they've been upkept. Mm-hmm.
We've lost the picture.
Uh-oh.
No, he's still alive here.
Oh, there he goes. There you go. Found him. He's come back.
You can't get rid of him that easily.
Ha-ha. And if you do, I'll be back.
Oh. No, he's coming.
We're just startling a couple little robins and magpies. And hopefully if we get out here, we have a little prairie dog community. And it's the trail intersects them. So we will be walking right through some prairie dogs here in about, another 100 yards maybe. You know, if we're lucky, we might get a nice train that pops in right beside us here. I don't know what their schedule is, but now the area all around these reservoirs, that area is not in the park, unfortunately. So we can't get down there, but this area, when I was talking about birds, is a great area for watching hawks because they like to try to get the prairie dogs. This whole lower area here is filled with probably about 100 different prairie dog burrows.
Oh, wow.
So from where I'm at, I can see a couple of the little guys rolling around, and I don't really have a big zoom lens on, but I'm trying to get some closer shots.
Let's get a spotting scope and mount it with an arm that you can
try something like that.
Yeah, we got to rig something up.
I would be fine with that. You know, like I said, if we can get it where the signal works from the other location, it's Walden Ponds, which is another great story. It was a series of old quarries and gravel pits that was reclaimed and is now one of the most fabulous wetlands we have here in Boulder County.
And next Wednesday at this time,
I think.
next Wednesday at this time, we're going to be in Washington, D.C. looking at cherry blossoms and different sites and things. So make sure you mark down to be online at 1 p.m. Wednesday Eastern Time.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Wonderful.
I'm so glad I woke up in time.
I
don't.
Oh, excellent.
I can wake you up. I don't mind. I'll phone you.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
There we go. Well, I'm glad you could join us. We're going to take a spot up on, I'm going to straddle this little.
I got a couple people that they say just phone me to make sure I wake up.
Before we round our corner here, again, head back into where we see some prairie dogs and things like that. I just want to take some time and just look at the views here.
That's going to be amazing when all the greenery and flowers come out.
Oh yeah, when everything hits, it really is a beautiful sight out here.
Hey Dominic, we got a question.
Yes.
How big is the lake? Now, is that a man-made lake or a natural lake? And how big is
Gotcha. Yep, these guys here, so these lakes, these are actually 3 different reservoirs. So they are man-made, and we have a number of reservoirs out here, because since we're so close to the foothills, we get a whole bunch of snow melt that comes down. And the snow melt has been throughout, hundreds of years, they have built a huge ditch system. And in fact, right in front of us, if I pop right down here, we see one of the larger farmer ditches in the area. So, down below us, they have these open, and these kind of crisscross all throughout the valley. And as that snow melts, they'll open up different gates, and that allows them to fill up different reservoirs. And then we drink from these reservoirs throughout the rest of the year. And I'll try and point out the 3 different reservoirs here. And we might be able to just see the differences here. So this one right here in front of us, which is probably only about, I'm going to say 2/10 of a mile long. Because we have, it ends right there to the left. And then right there is where it ends.
You guys can have some fun. You can say, what's the name of the reservoir, Dominic?
Let's see. Well, there's 3 different ones. We have Hilltop Reservoir, which is this one right in front. And then if you can see this little separation, there's a little road that they've built up between the 2 reservoirs. And then that's Valmont Reservoir, which is a large reservoir. That actually goes way off to the right, and it's probably at least a mile or so long. And then we have Leggett Reservoir, which you might be able just to make out a little bit of blue color right there. So we have 3 different man-made reservoirs right here.
Well, you can do silly things, like say how many gallons of water in the Hilltop Reservoir, and Google it, and then there's an app called like Wolfram Alpha, and you can put silly questions into those things, and there's no way of confirming if you're getting the right answer, but it's fun. It's fun to see what it comes up with.
I like it. One thing about these walks, it has really helped me to increase, the little things that I do know about the areas. Like I said, I'm just kind of walking around exploring like you guys. But I try to figure out a little bit of stuff beforehand. Hopefully as we add more and more photographers here, we'll be able to, get you guys all around the world here. I know I've seen some stuff in Singapore and, Utah. I know we're trying to get back and forth with them, and I'll be doing a little video here next week kind of showing some of the people how easy it is to get out there be a photographer out in the field and bring people for a little walk around.
The issue right now, Dominic, is those darn iPhones don't support the Hangout on Air very well. So
yeah, they're going to need to fix some stuff there. So this ditch here, I'll show you. We are actually at one of the farmers' gates right here. So everyone has, or not everyone, lucky people along the ditches have water shares. So depending on how much water you own, that's how much water you can get siphoned off into your area. So we see here a big slot that keeps the water, separate. So they'll release it, and we see we have a little bit of standing water here. But let me tell you, when they're not open yet, but when they do open up those gates that are way up the mountain and fill these things up for the first time, ooh, it's a little bit of a smell. You have about 4 months of dead leaves and branches and whatever else that is built up in there that is just washed out in a huge deluge when they let those open. We had a farm out in Longmont. I had a little section of orchard that had about 16 apple trees in it. And once during the season, we would flood the whole field. And it would only take about a day off of that farmer's ditch, and the whole field would be flooded by about 6 inches.
Wow.
Okay.
So if you start to hear any little screams or chirps, we are getting up and closer here to a little prairie dog area.
Hey, Timothy.
Oh, so prairie dogs and rabbits. Oh my. All right, so we're gonna. Here we have about a half a dozen of rabbits that ran up the hill here. And if you can hear that chirping there, that is the prairie dog, and that's one of them sitting right on his little mound there. And we will get on closer. So as you see, the trail goes right up in the middle of all these little prairie dogs here.
We can hear them quite well.
We'll move through slowly.
Oh, Lord.
So the one that's chirping at us, up here. And we'll just slowly make our way through here.
Now, if you had 8 months at all, that one would pop up right out of that hole, Dominic.
Oh, exactly. Well, see, this is the game. This is the game that they play. Okay, you see how that guy is the one making all the noise, and he is chirping at me, and he could be chirping at his friends too. But the trick being that even if we're nice and calm, well, he sees me moving. So he's wagging his tail and bobbing up and down.
You were the prairie dog.
Both of us here. And see now that we've got a little closer here, he has popped back down. Let me. So if I was actually a predator and I stuck my nose down in that little burrow there and tried to sniff at him, chances are he would appear behind me or in that hole there.
I'm thinking Bill Murray.
Exactly. Exactly. They, you know, or if any of you remember the whack-a-mole game, you know, that is another one. You know, now that we're here and making noise, you know, they're probably gonna chill down their holes, but yeah. They're gonna come up. But now these guys, their system of burrows underneath the ground is really advanced. So they have nursery areas, living areas. I believe they also have little, let's call them latrine areas. So everyone keeps the burrow nice and clean. And they raise their kits in a group. So they, you know, they have you know, little group societies, and they will also take over orphans. So if someone's group of kits has been you know, left orphaned by hawks, foxes, coyotes, osprey, those are going to be these guys' main predators. We also have, if you get a little bit further up into the foothills, we have some ferrets. Ferrets also like to feed on these little prairie dogs. So they are really a cornerstone of the prairie ecology. And I think we talked a little bit about some of their voice talents. So we had that guy that was just chirping at me, and we heard chirp, 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 chirp. But to the prairie dogs, they are actually talking to each other. And there's been a scientist that has done a lot of studies on prairie dogs and the sounds they make, and has said that he has distinguished between about 200 and 300 different words that the prairie dogs use, and some of those are in combination. So they can say predator, but they can also say whether that predator is on the ground or in the sky. So you can listen, and when they chirp, if a hawk, which in this area happens quite a bit, you can hear the prairie dogs all making one particular type of sound. So they are letting you know that there's a hawk there. But then also they will chirp differently for a four-legged animal. And he says that they chirp differently for a wolf, or I'm sorry, for a coyote, versus just a normal dog. So those guys are pretty darn smart. And they've been living in the prairie ecosystem for, I think, 1.2 million years.
We'll have to get a second phone, Dominic, and get one of those hairy groundhog things to sell in the gift stores, and put the phone inside that, and you leave it beside one of the holes, and then walk away.
Yep. You know, I thought about testing the Bluetooth.
Yes, it pops up and what it would do when it sees the stuffed toy. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That's a great view.
I would dig that.
Yeah, hopefully his signal will come back in.
Oh yeah, it's just a minor drop. It'll be fine. Just takes them a second to reboot it.
This is wonderful. I'm hoping that next year I'm still here and that we can take some drives, and I can leave these 4 walls. And I mean, this is wonderful to get some ideas as to where we can actually go.
If you have a couple of locations that you have a Make-A-Wish that you'd like to see, just send me a message, and we'll do our best to take you there.
Thank you.
We've got friends in Edinburgh, so we could show you around Edinburgh. So put together your I think we got virtual Make-A-Wish and virtual bucket list.
Thank you.
We've got to start doing more of that. Oh, and we got one coming up in Alaska, and we tried to do dog sledding, and darned if they had no snow in Alaska this winter. So.
Oh my gosh.
Who would have thought? You're back.
I made it back. Made it back. For some reason, I guess for the signal, it doesn't like the top of the hill.
Yeah.
No, it is. You know, we talk about, those of us that live here, there's something called the Boulder Bubble. It's got a lot of different meanings, but it also means that the cell signals like to play havoc just at the edge of town.
Well, you're absolutely crystal clear, Dominic. That's just perfect right there.
It's beautiful.
Well, I enjoy it. You know, again, we are here. I'm using the. I'll even pop it out here. A little Verizon jetpack. So this thing has kept us with a pretty darn good signal and sending a good broadcast signal out to you guys. So that has helped us out and gets us out in the field here to show you guys all these sites.
Yep, we thank them greatly for donating the 3 jetpacks and a 4G modem when we've used them to good use on multiple photowalks. So
I think we've had a good time, and we've done a nice mile-long hike here in Boulder, Colorado. So I think this is probably a good place to sign off. I appreciate you guys coming with me, and I will try to get some of these photos up for you a little bit later on. And again, you know, keep an eye out for the virtual photo walk site. Gonna have a whole bunch of different areas coming up, so we'll see you in the chat room on one of those, or see you here next time.
Okay. Thank you, Dominic. Bye for now.
Thank you ever
Have a
so
good
much.
one.
It was wonderful.
Actually, glad you enjoyed it.
Bye, John.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you, Timothy. Bye.
Virtual photo walks. Virtual photo walks.